The trip emanates out of a discussion which I had with the Australian High Commissioner in India, Mr. Peter Verghese. And Mr. Verghese suggested to me that there is a need to broaden the Indo-Australian strategic engagement, which encompasses the various spectrum of activity, which at the moment both Australia and India, formally and informally, at the government and at the civil society level, are engaged in. So therefore, that's the genesis and that's the background of the visit. We've been meeting a lot of interesting people. We met with officials of the Victorian Police Department yesterday, essentially in connection with the ongoing investigation into the murder of one of my constituents, Mr. Nitin Garg, who was tragically stabbed to death on the 3rd of January 2010 here in Melbourne. In addition to that, we also met the Honourable Minister of the Victorian Government for Education, Skill Development and Workforce Participation. Discussed a broad range of issues concerning education, as to how the Indo-Australian cooperation in education can be put on a more institutional footing. Met the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Mr. Jenkins, discussed ways of taking the Indo-Australian parliamentary cooperation forward. So essentially that's what we've been doing. The Minister for Education of the Victorian Government was telling me yesterday that she was in Bangalore and she got back on Monday. And during the course of her visit both to Delhi and Bangalore, she got a lot of questions with regard to the safety and security of students coming to study out here. So I guess when you have incidents of this sort, it does have an impact in terms of creating apprehensions in the minds of parents, who are possibly sending their children away for 2 years or 3 years or more in order to pursue a graduate course or a postgraduate course. So to say that it won't have an impact or it has not had an impact would be erroneous and fallacious. Eventually, at the end of the day, those are subjective decisions. You cannot really quantify impact in terms of how much would percentages of students coming to Australia drop or how much they would rise. I guess notwithstanding the attacks, people may still keep coming because of the wide range of courses which are offered by the Australian education sector. But at the back of the mind of parents, there would be this anxiety and there would be this concern. So obviously the kind of confidence which was there earlier, that I think has been impacted. Well, I don't know how much can really a government do under these circumstances, because in all democratic, pluralistic, multicultural societies, if at all there are incidents of crime, it is for the law enforcement agencies to ensure that the offenders are caught, they are brought before justice and they are punished, because as a lawyer, it is my fundamental belief that nothing else except punishment possibly sends out a message of strong deterrence to those who ostensibly do intend embarking on this path, even accidentally, that there is a huge penalty to pay for going down this road. So that's what I impressed upon the Deputy Commissioner for Police yesterday, and that's what I impressed upon my various other interlocutors that I met with, that there is a need to see that the wheels of justice grind efficaciously and in a transparent and an expeditious manner. Those who are responsible, are brought to justice. I do understand as a lawyer that investigations do take time, especially criminal investigations. They require very meticulous work in terms of collecting evidence, because cases have to stand before a court of law. Eventually, you have to pass the test of the court. But within the parameters of all that, I think if the offenders are brought to justice, and as Foreign Minister Smith had pointed out in one of his statements to the Australian Parliament, that in certain states the Australian government or the law enforcement agencies have in fact brought people to book. So therefore I think that's a huge signal of confidence that if at all somebody has committed an offence, he's not going to be able to go scot-free. Well, I am not going to, make any value judgments in that because essentially I do believe that all democratic multicultural societies do make a very, very concerted attempt to purge such tendencies from the mainstream of both civil society and the body politic. But then to say that these tendencies do not exist or they may not have been an aggravating cause for some of the incidents which did take place would again then be erroneous. So, in all democratic societies, we do face the same challenge. You have a lot of such people in India also who possibly profess to some kind of hardline fundamentalism. But then it becomes the responsibility of all of us who believe that the rule of law lies at the heart of democracy to see that anybody who does take law into his own hands is then effectively reprimanded and the process of justice plays itself out.